choose to speak and haven't signed up, I have the sheet here if you'd like to enter your name on that for comments during that section of the agenda. So, if not, looks like we've reached the appointed hour to get started. So if you'll stand, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Chair is stuck. Maybe I'll stand during this meeting. Finally got it. Thank you, Tom. We've got to put somebody in charge of small chairs, because these are hard to get around in. Okay. So I'll call the regular scheduled Beckley Common Council meeting for July 11th, 2023 to order. And the first order of business is the reading and approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of June 27th, 2023.
I move that we adopt the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. Next, compensation for Beckley Police Department, approval of a $2,500 across-the-board increase for sworn police officers. And prior to that, I would just like to make a comment that nobody respects and admires our current police department as much as I have the police departments over the years. No, I would like to think as mayor that we've done all we can possibly do to make this the best equipped police department, maybe if not the best in the state, certainly right up there among the very best. I would also say that during the past 2 years, and I've received very few comments on it, during the past 2 years, those officers who were on board and present at the time received a $6,500 award from our ARPA funds. And then if you were here during that 2-year period, all city employees received another $850, which we call year-end pay supplement. In the old days, we called it a Christmas bonus, but we were advised by the auditor's department that we could no longer call it a Christmas bonus. So it's a year-end pay supplement. So you add that $6,500 to two $850 year-end pay supplements, and all of a sudden that you're over $8,000 in the past 2 years. And I just bring that up to say that it's not the city against the police department. We love and value what you do. We have a retired long-term police officer in the city of Beckley who currently heads up a cooperative police department for the WVU Tech University. And because of that, he had access to the radio communication during the recent April shootings on Sheridan Avenue. And he could tell by the identification of the young officers who responded to that tragic incident just how professional and how well trained they were. So we don't take what you've done and what you've accomplished for granted. And I just bring that up to say that we have, along with the Beckley Police Department, we have 5 other major departments in the city. And in my mind, if we were to go to any of those departments, maybe particularly the Public Works Department, and say, we're going to grant a $2,500 across-the-board increase to you who get up at 3 in the morning in sub-zero weather to clear streets and to do everything else we do to make this city safe. If I were to tell them that, if I were to tell the people in City Hall that, if I were to tell the fire department or Public Works or Parks and Recreation that, these people would think they had died and gone to heaven. I know what's going on here, but the increase that has been recommended, and I understand there's been considerable campaigning to raise the amount that is currently on the agenda, and after consultation with our city attorney, is the only amount that we can approve because it is an agenda item this evening. Then that's kind of where we are. But again, I can't tell you how much, and I wish I knew the first name of everybody I'm looking at there now, and I do recognize several officers and appreciate what you do, and the safety you bring to the city of Beckley. So with that, we're down to item number 3 on the agenda.
Mayor, before we move on to 3, I believe we had a workshop with respect to the salary increase. So if I could just sort of summarize some of the perceptions from that workshop,
Okay.
because Mr. Trump especially really went out of his way to give us a lot of information that kind of armed us with the ability to respond to folks who've asked us questions directly. And to that, I would just like to discuss what happened in that workshop because they're not covered, and I'd like to sort of let folks know how that agenda worked and what we thought about. First off, to mimic a lot of the mayor's comments, you know, law enforcement officers put their lives on the line every day. He brought up the April shootings. And, you know, with the recent increase in crime rates, I think it's more important than ever to support our law enforcement officers. An increase, as the mayor said, is absolutely what in our workshop we all agreed was necessary. And by increasing their salaries, I believe we can attract and retain the best officers and become more competitive with other law enforcement officers, agencies nearby. That being said, there's been some numbers thrown around that don't do a terrible good job of describing full compensation. And I previously worked at Goldman Sachs as a compensation attorney, so imputed benefits and all those things really do matter. And I don't think necessarily that gave us a whole picture, so it put myself and I assume Councilman Reedy at large in a position of needing to do more research on our own. And thank you, Mr. Trump, for providing me all of the salaries for everyone at fire and everyone at police, because armed with that information, that some of it we received after the workshop. Thank you. I think this is how we're going to show our appreciation and dedication, by providing them the resources they need to keep our community safe. And as 1 second aside, I mean, I'm looking out at the faces of people I've challenged their work as a defense attorney every day. And of course, Morgan Bragg is here, a conviction that would not have been possible because I would have beat the pants off of anybody else but that officer, because he was so competent and did such a good job. So, I mean, I have a different perspective for most of them because we're supposed to be like cats and dogs. But if it was some other officer, that person may have walked. But we're so appreciative of the work you do. That being said, I was in support of the agenda item listing a $2,500 increase. I felt that the salary increase, after doing my independent research, should be more upwards of about $8,000. I don't know what Mr. Reedy's perspective was after. That's for him to speak on. And I think it's unfortunate we didn't get to cover this at the last city council meeting, because I thought it should have been an agenda item for then. And I don't understand a restriction that would preclude us from voting on this today, because it feels as if we should be able to. I mean, Mr. Trump said it best at our workshop. When we asked him what amount would you recommend, Mr. Trump was very careful and deliberate to say, well, I can't tell you all what amount. That has to be up to council. But my recommendation would be an $8,000 increase, and then for us to revisit it at the midpoint of the fiscal year, at the end of this calendar year, to see if it's sustainable. And I understand we can't back it up and take it away, but I think that is a competitive increase in light of what we've seen as for crime, as what we've seen for the uptick and yes, we have provided great facilities and great firearms, and we've got great people. We need to keep our great people. So I can only speak for myself, Mr. Reedy. Would you mind what your perceptions are, but please chime in.
I'm very much in agreement with Mr. Dunlap. Each of us up here can only speak for ourselves, and comments are made by one member does not represent everybody up here. What I said does not represent anybody else, and so on. So I know there's been a lot of comments made that's been directly towards this whole situation. I personally don't want to see any of you all leave. I'm willing to do whatever I can to keep each and every one of you all here. You all are the backbone of this community, and the first call any and everyone makes at some of the worst moments and the biggest fears of their life, we call you all. And I can go to sleep every night knowing that I'm a little bit more safe by having Beckley PD protecting my hometown and my community. With a 4-month-old little girl at home, I know I'm safe here in Beckley because of you men and women, and I truly appreciate that. I promised during my campaign I would do everything possible that I could to support you all, and I feel like I've kept that promise to my best of ability, and I promise to keep that as long as I'm sitting in this chair. Thank you for all that y'all do. Y'all are the most selfless job in America, because I'll tell you right now, I couldn't do what you all do, and I appreciate everything you do, and I'll always support the blue.
Good, thank you, Cody. Thank you, Mr. Dunlap.
Thank you, Mayor.
Bill Fowle, the question seems to be, we have an agenda item requesting approval for a certain amount of across-the-board increase. Does that preclude any other consideration beyond what's on the agenda?
Yes, I think what it would do is, if this body wants to do better than $2,500, it probably needs to be tabled tonight and needs to come back at another meeting.
Mr. Fowle.
It is not.
Excuse me, Mr. Falstall.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to state that I believe that would be a material change to what was being advertised here as item number 3, which the public would have seen, which is a $2,500 across-the-board increase. And to go, for instance, with what Mr. Dunlap said, $8,000, that's a material change in amount. And so I don't think this council, at this stage tonight, is in position to act on that. I think it would require tabling the matter and bringing it back to another meeting, at which time it should be appropriately stated on the agenda as to what council is going to vote on.
Sure, you have a
I
comment?
do. I would like to make a motion that we present $8,000 across the board to all of our officers. Can I make a motion to present $8,000 across the board?
Could she make a motion to
Can I make-
present it at the next meeting, and then we vote on it then, since it's not
Because
technically-
ultimately, the motion, I assume, would include retroactive compensation?
Well,
for
I think
this?
that's something that, in my opinion, will be discussed. Right now, Mr. Fowle suggested we table this issue because it represents such a material difference. Mr. Trump, do you have any comments? You had originally said that $8,000, in order to try to keep up with competitive agencies, was really not sustainable by the city at this point.
That looks like at least $500,000 a year added on to the police department budget. Right now, the police department budget was budgeted about $7 million. And so you're going to raise the police department budget by nearly 10%. And when you do that, where are you gonna get the money?
Mr. Trump, would we be able to earmark the 1% sales quarterly that comes into the city to be able to sustain that increase?
Well, you're assuming that that's not going to be used for anything else, for some of the things that the city needs, some unmet maintenance and other items. So,
Well, it's a good point, Mr. Trump. I just think what we may be saying is we're considering earmarking it as something else that we believe is really needed.
And along those lines, not to interrupt, but the 1% sales tax, which has been a wonderful windfall for the city of Beckley for the past 7 years due to becoming a home rule city, but that 1% sales tax has enabled Mr. Trump and the financial people to increase our contribution to the police and fire civil service contribution that the city makes, which, to the city of Beckley's credit, makes us a kind of a shining star as far as financing our fire and police civil service and having a greater degree of solvency in these programs than maybe any other city in the state. So it's not as if we're not using some of that 1% to improve the lives of our police and fire department. Is that safe to say, Mr. Trump?
I think that's correct. And, I really wish the members of council would have just sat down and we could have talked and looked at the budget a little more carefully with, and understand the repercussions of this motion. Because there are going to be some significant repercussions. there's going to be some problems meeting the city's pension obligation. There, you know, and several other things are going to have to be put off. So, you know, if you don't want to rely on my expertise, then I don't have any business being here.
Oh, and Mr. Trump, I want to make sure it's clear. Your expertise were so appreciated. And these financials you provided me of everyone's salaries, they absolutely went into my analysis, as well as the other budgets you've provided that showed that, you know, in prior years, we did have finances available for certain capital expenditures that were major, that we don't anticipate buying another country club. We don't anticipate buying another structure like that. But for your financials, I wouldn't have felt comfortable making the recommendation. And I don't want you to think it was willy-nilly or careless. It's based on the quality work you provided.
But can I go ahead and offer a motion to table?
It's good. Do we have a second to table this issue?
Second.
Have a motion and second to table the issue for the time being, to consider further deliberation. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
What would be the next process now that it gets tabled?
Well, I think further discussion and deliberation.
Mayor,
They're just-
are we able to ensure that this is on the next meeting agenda?
No, I'm not able to ensure that. We'll certainly shoot for that.
Okay.
Frankly, not that it matters. I have a vacation scheduled during that period with people coming in from California and elsewhere around the country. But we'll do our best to keep it moving, just like we have now. We
Yes,
haven't
sir.
sat on this thing.
So there probably should be a workshop scheduled.
Should be a workshop, exactly.
That's what I was going to ask, like how we can know like the interest of the council members. I know Mr. Dunlap and Ms. Hunter spoke, but I was just, you know, if we have other ones,
Well,
you know, in agreeance, and I feel like it should be able to move more forward since technically we're the ones that vote on the ordinances to get passed.
Yeah, I'm a prior federal law enforcement officer, so I want these officers to be taken care of. The people that they have to deal with now on the streets, it's a totally different type of criminal. And I want you all to be taken care of. I have recruited some of you all to go out to the federal prison, but I want you all to be retained and to stay with the city of Beckley. You all take care of me when I call you. I appreciate you. So I want you to, you know, your salary be comparable to other people in the other cities of West Virginia. And I just want to say, I want you all to be taken care of, because you all are dealing with a different type of criminal. And we want these criminals off the street.
Very good. We have motion second and approval to table this issue.
It's already been voted upon, Mayor.
It's voted on.
It's already.
Well, I'm
passed.
recapping what we've done to move forward. Is that okay?
I think so.
Thank you, sir. So that brings us down to number 4 item, old business. Do we have anything from any member of council under old business?
Mayor, yes, just curious where we're at with the panhandling ordinance that we spoke about a couple of months ago.
There's been a lot of research, there's been a lot of feedback from ACLU, and I think, it's my personal opinion, that due to the efforts of the owner of Golden Corral, Mr. Eddie Tirico, that message has resonated. I understand that what was once a very popular panhandling site at his entrance to his business, that has subsided. I still see the gentleman at the corner of Johnstown and South Kanawha. It's very difficult. Mr. Fowle's done some research with Morgantown, who tried to get a countywide panhandling ordinance, which was deemed unacceptable by ACLU. But it's not that we're not continuing to work on it. It's just not open. It's not an open and shut case.
We're still looking at alternatives. I think it is a matter that will get discussed here in the next several months. I think there's some other cities that have moved further along, and we can see how that goes.
Very good, thank you. Anything else from any member of council under old business? Anything from any member of council under new business? Okay, we're down to public comments, and it looks like the first public speaker is Mary West. You'll have 3 minutes, Ms. West, to express your thoughts.
evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Mayor
Mary.
Russ.
I, once again, am asking you all to help on the roof. I thank you officers because you all come down when I call, and I have brought myself a radar gun, so I know what they go through when they come down there. First and everything else. So I would like to have some help down there. And if, I don't know why we can't have traffic squadron to all over Beckley, not just LaRue. People are driving like they have lost their everlasting mind. They got their license at Walmart somewhere, because they didn't get it at DMV. But they are really getting nasty. I have signs all up and down the road. And you all should be able to give them officers what they need. You send officers down there to run radars. Some of the cars don't even have radars in them. So they can't run radar. But what we need to do is to help these officers so that they can do their job. Because I never even thought about what they have to go through when they come out there on these calls. I'm just standing on the side of the road. And I'm called everything but a child of God. Telling me to get a light. I say, don't lose your speed. So I got a megaphone coming, and it's got a siren on it. Don't think I won't use it.
You can be well equipped with your radar gun and a megaphone with a siren on it.
Yes, I'll be quick.
Well, when Barbara and I stopped by to see you about 3 days ago, we were driving well under the speed limit. We enjoyed seeing you. And I was particularly glad to see you out in front of your house, and you didn't need the aid of your walker, which you use so ably. Yeah, but it was nice seeing you. Your home is beautiful. And I'll admit, some wise guy drove by while I was parked in the middle of the road talking to you, and he made some comment. I don't think he was speeding, but he was being...
Yeah, he was speeding. He almost hit you in your tail end. And I took care of that. I went right on down where he parked at.
Yeah.
He told me don't do it again.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Because, I tell them all, I'll be out here sometime on this walker.
Yeah.
I'm like that turtle. That turtle may be slow, but if you grab a hold of it, you're going to pray for thunder. So don't let me have to grab a hold of nobody down there. And another thing, 209 LaRue has a pile of trash.
15
that's been out
seconds.
there Through
15 seconds, Mary.
15 seconds, thank you. Through all the holidays, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, and July 4th. Send a truck down there to get that mess up. It's got dead birds in it, it's got cat pieces in it, and it stinks up the neighborhood.
What is it, 209? Pam, can you take a look at that? 209 LaRue?
Yes, I've been calling you.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Roger Cuevas?
My name is Roger Cuevas, and I don't live in the city of Beckley. I live part of the time in Miami and part of the time in Raleigh County. But I have a wonderful wife that I married from West Virginia, actually. Gave me 3 kids, and they all escaped me. They all left me. One came to Beckley, West Virginia, one went to Seattle, and once in a while, one stayed in Miami. The reason I'm here is because in my professional role, I was superintendent of the Dade County school system, the 4th largest, now the 3rd, because Chicago has dropped out. At the time, we had a budget of about $4 billion and 40,000 employees. It was just about the time Columbine, when Columbine had a terrible, terrible thing. And I was superintendent in Miami. I went to Columbine to see what would happen. Well, as soon as I got back, I initiated probably one of the largest police forces in the school system, even though we had a relationship with Metro-Dade, which is one of the largest police forces in the country, and the 40 municipalities. We had affiliate agreements. We had common radios. We had everything to prevent what happened in Columbine. I don't like to see that happen here. My son doesn't want me to be up here. I've been telling him to leave and come with me to Miami, but he won't. He loves Beckley. He loves the police force. And I don't know of another officer, probably, that went to 2 academies. He went to the police academy in the Miami Police Department, and then he came up here and became a police officer. He went to the West Virginia Academy. But the reason I'm here is the fact that after I hired the policemen, the recruitment cost me money, the training cost me money, the academy cost me money, and when you see the rotating door, as I said, where are you guys going? We're leaving. We get better pay over there. That's wrong. And that's what happens when you don't pay properly the people that have the hardest job: teachers, police officers, first responders. So I didn't want to come. My wife's birthday was on the 3rd of July, and my other kids came, and guess what happened? They tried to convince him to go to Seattle. Now, who wants to go to be a
15
policeman in
seconds.
Seattle today?
15 seconds, Mr. Cuevas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Cuevas, your son is Ryan, I assume?
Right.
Right. A long time, one of my favorite officers, I will say that. I hadn't noticed the beard lately, but it's very becoming. Thank you. Joseph Hunter.
First, thank you, Mr. Dunlap, and the other comments by members of council as well. So I want to address comments that were made by Mr. Trump that ran in the Register Herald recently. In the paper, Mr. Trump suggested that we're not losing officers to other law enforcement agencies. The story says that in the last 5 years, that only 1 officer has left for a competing agency. Now, as it was printed, his statement was factually correct because he used the caveat of newly hired officers. However, if we remove that qualifier, it paints a very different picture. Within the last 5 years, the city of Beckley has lost Sean Carpenter to the Sheriff's Department, Alex McGee to the Sheriff's Department, Sam Lilly, Sheriff's Department, Joseph Stewart to the State Police, Andy Wickline, State Police, Charlene Diggs to the prison system, Logan Christian to the prison system, Tim Hughes, Federal, Nick Walters, Federal, Justin Ford to the Marshal Service, Philip Conley to an out-of-state agency. Both Mr. Ford and Mr. Conley had over 10 years of service, of knowledge, experience, and training provided by the city that they took with them when they left. Charles Ney to the Veterans Affairs, who's still graciously here with us, and Zane England. Mr. Ney and Mr. England have both left since the announcement of the proposed $2,500 budget. Both of them have communicated to me, and I assume other officers, that they plan to wait and see before they make their decision. They waited, they saw, they made their decision. If we go forward with the $2,500 as proposed, and again, thank you so much, but if that goes forward, I'll be back here in 2 months with more names I can read off this list. I promise, they're planning. They want to see what happens. Mr. Trump also suggests that within this profession that most people will quit right away, and that is 100% correct. We're always going to fight a rotating door of people who get hired, face the reality of the job, and decide it's not for them. That did not apply to any name I read. Every one of these officers faced the shock that comes with your first day on the job, worked through it, chose to continue their career in law enforcement, but to do so elsewhere, at the city's expense. I spoke today to our training supervisor, Sergeant Bloom, and asked him to give me an estimate of what it costs to train a new hire, every prospective hire we bring through the door. He estimated that from pre-employment background checks, training costs, equipment costs, academy fees, gas, ammo, manpower hours, etc., that the first year of employment will cost the city roughly $100,000 for every new hire.
15 seconds.
Yes, sir. Until we are provided a competitive wage that will retain those trained officers, that's money we will hemorrhage away to prepare them for their careers elsewhere. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Well done. Jamie Bloom.
Evening. I think most of you know me, just in case not, my name's Jamie Bloom. I've been a police officer with the city of Beckley for almost 2 decades. I'm here tonight at the request of many of my fellow officers, and I'm here with a spirit of humility, respect, and gratitude. In 2005, I entered the hiring process at Beckley PD and graduated from the West Virginia State Police Academy in 2006. On my first day in uniform after the academy, the officer that talked me into applying to Beckley PD, an officer that told me he worked for the best police department in the world and loved coming to work every day. That officer was killed in the line of duty on my first day of work after graduating the academy. Next month makes 17 years ago that Chuck Smith was killed, and 17 years later, I'm still here. I've had my share of close calls. I've had people hurt me, try to kill me. I've had bones broken. I've bled, sweat, and I admit I've cried more than once, obviously. This job has given me hypertension, a sleep disorder, chronic back problems, and other issues that I won't get into. And I am not an anomaly among my peers over here. I still keep coming back to work, and I consider working at Beckley PD an honorable profession. Since getting hired, I've earned several degrees, obtained thousands of hours of technical skills training and certifications, mostly on my own time and dime. If you don't believe that, you can ask my wife. All in an effort to be a better asset to the public and my fellow officers. Despite that, I still make less than a brand new, uncertified, inexperienced West Virginia State Police cadet at the Police Academy. The irony is that I've taught at the Police Academy. And if I were to return to instruct, I would literally be making less money than the people sitting in the chairs that I'm instructing after 20 years of service at Beckley PD. None of the officers here took this job for money. There's no doubt about that. We do it for far deeper reasons, but we do deserve fair pay. Being a police officer is a tough job, and not just anyone can do it. It takes a very special person, and they're becoming harder and harder to find. Over the past 5 years, we have had a 33% attrition rate. We can all agree on that.
15 seconds.
Every single person that has voluntarily left, whether they stayed in police work or not, has left for more money. Looking beyond the 5-year mark, the police department has had an attrition rate of 75%. A shockingly lower number of officers actually make it the 20-year mark and retire from Beckley PD. I've seen so many officers come and go that I don't remember all of them. This is not sustainable and is counter to our efforts to create an experienced, dedicated department that maintains a culture of excellence. In the books of Luke, Timothy, and Matthew, it says that the workman is worthy of his hire. I assure you that these officers are worth far more than they're paid. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Beckley. It is a privilege and an honor, and one that we do not take lightly. Thank you especially to the members of the public and council who have voiced their support for the police department over the past few weeks. As pay has been discussed, this means the world to us. Thank you all.
Very good. Stephanie French.
I'm with Raleigh County Prevention Coalition, and I came to give some statistics about West Virginia, Beckley, and Raleigh County. The overall crime rate in West Virginia is 1,900 per 100,000 residents in the state of West Virginia. Sadly, this state leads the United States in fentanyl deaths. 66 per 100,000 people die daily in the state of West Virginia. One of the reasons it's exacerbated by high unemployment rates and poor living in this state. Unfortunately, now, in the 2023, Beckley is the worst city to live in the state of West Virginia. and these are the statistics, and you can Google this. We are the worst state to live in. Last year, we had 1,045 violent crimes in the city of Beckley. It makes us 45.7% of 1,000 residents. So, 1 in 18 will be a victim of a violent crime in this city. I, on a daily, and some of the council members know, I distribute Narcan every day. I go into these homeless encampments. We have some of the largest homeless encampments in the state of West Virginia. We have other cities busing homeless in at just miraculous rates. I cannot keep up. My blessing boxes cannot keep up. Councilman Bullock said we have an all-new criminal. We do, and it is drugs and drug dealers. These gentlemen that protect our city and protect us have to deal with these drug dealers on a daily basis. I personally go into these homeless encampments. I go into trap houses. I get run off by drug dealers. I chase prostitutes, for goodness sake, and give out goodie bags with Narcan, condoms, lube, dental dam, and pepper spray. We want them to practice abstinence, but they're not going to. Why? Because they are strung out and they suffer substance abuse disorder. This city is overrun with drugs. We all know the trooper that was killed in Mingo County doing his job. The chances of these officers, 1 in 5 will be devastatedly injured in a drug-related crime in this city because of the high drug rate. We have to stop it. We not only need to pay these men more, but we need to hire more for this city. I mean, you cannot sit up there and be proud of the
15
fact.
seconds.
15
sorry,
seconds,
Mr. Trump.
Stephanie.
You can't be proud of the fact that we are the worst city in this state. We have to do something. And these guys walk out their door every single day not knowing if they will return to their family. We need to help them, we need to back them, and we need to be there for them. Because the drugs is not going to stop. The homeless is not going to stop. Neither is the crime. And when they can't cover what they need to do.
Okay, Stephanie, your time is up, and that was a great message. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Michelle Cochran?
Good evening. I was here a couple weeks ago about a cat problem in my neighborhood. First of all, I want to thank the police officers for everything you do every day. I echo a lot of the thoughts that were said here about consideration for the amount of money that you spend in training for this revolving door. That is not a good use of our funds. Now, on to the cat issue. I put a post in our neighborhood Facebook group and said, hey, I'm going to start trapping these animals and releasing them somewhere else. And lo and behold, the number of cats has dramatically decreased. That tells me that these animals are owned. They're not strays. And that tells me it is poor responsibility of ownership. And that then falls back to the city council to put in ordinances that make these owners responsible for their pets. The attorney was going to look and see if he could find other cities that had ordinances. I did some investigating of my own. South Charleston and the city of Buchanan both have strong ordinances for pets. And I'm going to turn these over to you guys and hope that you can make some good use of those.
Good, thank you. Anthony, do we have anybody signed up to speak online and under public comments?
We do have a number of users, if you would, treat the prompt, in case they don't know how.
Okay. The instructions for those who would like to comment online, if calling by phone, dial *3 to raise your hand to be recognized. If connected by computer, click the hand icon on your participants panel to likewise be recognized to speak for 3 minutes.
We do have Danielle Stewart signed up to speak.
Okay. Do we need the mic over here on the table, Anthony?
No, sir, I'm on computer now.
Okay. Danielle, are you on board? Danielle?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, 1 second. She's going through. All right, can you hear us now, Danielle?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you all. I'm unmuted and you can't hear me.
Danielle, you have so many minutes.
Hold on a second. Let me mute here so it doesn't.
That'd be great.
Okay. Are you on? Am I on?
You're so on.
Okay. I wanted to say, to talk and speak in support of the pay raise for the police officers. It's kind of interesting this is coming up now as I'm having basically this same argument, same discussion with another organization that I'm involved with teachers. And the reality is when you look at the numbers, we have shortchanged personnel across the board, and it's not just the city, it's not just that organization. There's plenty of businesses in the same boat. We have used lower compensation for people to pay for other projects and other needs. And that's fine. It was great that we paid off big early. It was great we paid off the country club early. It was great that we bought bins and all that stuff. But now it's time to focus on our people, because people do things. It doesn't matter how many police cars we have, or the best police cars, or the best weapons. None of that matters. We don't have the people. So I just wanted to speak in support of giving them their due. It's a hard job, and they deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Anybody else signed up to speak online?
That was our only person that was signed up to speak.
Okay, very good. With that ends public comments. Brings us down. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We stand adjourned. Thanks all.